A new Senate report is delivering one of the starkest warnings yet about the impact of AI on American jobs. So, according to a new analysis led by Senator Bernie Sanders and the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, AI and automation, they estimate, could eliminate nearly 100 million US jobs over the next decade. This study, which we'll link to in the show notes, was conducted with ChatGPT assisted modeling, interestingly enough, and predicts that up to 89% of fast food positions, 64% of accounting roles, and nearly half of trucking jobs could vanish as what they call artificial labor reshapes the economy. Sanders then wrote an op-ed in Fox News arguing that the technology's current trajectory will allow corporate America to wipe out tens of millions of decent paying jobs, cut labor costs, and boost profits. The report itself actually cites Amazon and Walmart as examples of this, noting their expanding use of automation alongside sweeping layoffs. Democrats, in response here, are calling for major policy interventions, including a 32-hour workweek, profit sharing, and what they call a robot tax to ensure that AI's gains don't further concentrate wealth among billionaires. Republicans generally, by contrast, are warning that heavy regulation could slow down innovation and hand China an edge in the AI arms race. So, Paul, I mean, this couldn't come at a more interesting time. You've been saying for a while now that AI is going to get political, especially as we head into next year's U.S. midterms. Now, this really seems like Democrats are putting a stake in the ground on AI.
Definitely what we've been anticipating. I feel like the economy has become a weekly topic, and I'm not so sure that politics isn't going to become. Again, and if you're new to the podcast, our approach is political neutrality. Like we are all about what is the relevance of AI to the conversation, regardless of what side of the aisle it's coming from. It's just trying to be as fact-based and neutral on all of this as we possibly can and present the information. So my feeling has been for a while that the 2026 midterms in the U.S., that AI was going to become a major campaign issue. And this is further evidence to me that is definitely going to be. And this is the kind of language you would use when you're trying to gauge how interested people are and can we move votes as a result of the conversation. Because if they don't think it can move votes, they're not going to talk about it. So again, both sides of the aisle. So in this case, you have Bernie Sanders, independent, who caucuses, I think, is a Democrat, being very direct. And oddly enough to me, this is on Fox News. Like this is on Fox. So a predominantly Republican-leaning media outlet that he is you're coming and saying, hey, listen, it's going to come after all of us, all of our jobs, regardless of Republican, Democrat, or somewhere in the middle. So a couple of interesting segments of this. So I'll just read directly from the editorial that Bernie Sanders wrote. Everybody agrees that AI and robotics are going to have a transformative impact on our country and the world. There are strong disagreements, however, as to what those impacts will be, who will benefit from them, and who will be hurt. One thing is for sure, this is an enormously important issue that has not gotten the kind of discussion that it deserves, which we obviously agree with. The artificial intelligence and robotics being developed by these multi-billionaires, so he was basically talking about Bezos and Musk and those people, will allow corporate America to wipe out tens of millions of decent-paying jobs, cut labor costs, and boost profits. We all want more startup companies and small businesses. Keep in mind, again, if you don't know the data, like 99% of businesses in the U.S. are small businesses. They don't employ, like half of the employees work for bigger companies. But the vast majority of companies in the U.S. is like, I don't know, 26 million or something like that, are small businesses. So we need them for the economy to be strong. So he says we all want more startup companies and small businesses, but for workers, that will mean very little if half of all white-collar entry-level jobs are eliminated over the next 5 years. He's citing Dario Amodei, the founder of Anthropic, for that data. Goes on to say it's not just economics. Work, whether being a janitor or a brain surgeon, is an integral part of being human. The vast majority of people want to be productive members of society and contribute to their communities. What happens when that vital aspect of human existence is removed from our lives? Further, and now we get into some pretty deep stuff, the rapid developments in AI will likely have a profoundly dehumanizing impact on all of us. In many ways, it will actually redefine what it means to be human, fundamentally alter our relationships to each other, and the very nature of what we call society. Goes on to finish, bottom line, AI and robotics will bring a profound transformation to our country. These changes must benefit all of us, not just a handful of billionaires. This is a campaign speech.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can see this 3 months from now on the campaign trail being echoed by people as they start to see, can we move the vote with this talking point? This brings me back, Mike, to a topic that we talked about on episode 149 in June about this whole idea of, as we pursue AGI, as we start to look at this and the models start to get more and more advanced, what is it going to impact when we look at the total addressable market of salaries in the United States? So we talked about this last week on episode 171, the size of the economy and where the incentive lies to build AI into the economy. So we mentioned at that point, we cited, what was the guy's name? Alex Rumpel from A16Z. He cited the worldwide SaaS market at about 300 billion per year in annual revenue and the labor market at about 13 trillion. Just to give some context to what that means. Now, the numbers vary depending on what you look at, but roughly 300 to 500 billion a year in annual revenue in the SaaS industry. So to make that tangible, Salesforce was 38 billion last fiscal year, Adobe 21.5 billion, ServiceNow 11 billion, Shopify 8.8, Workday 8, HubSpot 2.6 billion. So when we think about this large 300 billion plus market and you start breaking it by individual companies, you can see the revenue that's generated. And so when you're building AI to go after jobs, you look at the SaaS companies, but then when you look at the labor market, and that's anywhere between 13 and probably 18 to 20 trillion in the US. But we're talking about registered nurses, roughly 300 billion in annual salary, software developers, 200 billion, accountants and auditors, 130 billion, lawyers, 130 billion, customer service reps, 120 billion, sales managers, 90 billion. So you can, if you're building AI to make a bunch of money, you can go after the software industry and say, let's just replace the need for this software. But the bigger opportunity, tenfold bigger opportunity in some cases, you could argue, is to go after the labor itself, to replace the need for accountants and auditors and lawyers and customer service reps. So you get into this debate like, well, would people actually do that? Would companies actually just go straight after the labor? Yes, 100% they do. So in episode 145, we talked about a company named Mechanize. We said, okay, so it was founded April 17th of this year by AI researcher Tamay Besaroglu. And the startup's goal, according to Besaroglu, is the full automation of all work and the full automation of the economy. When they announced the company, Mechanize, a startup focused on developing virtual work environments, benchmarks, and training data that will enable full automation of the economy. The investors, GitHub CEO Nat Friedman, tech investor Daniel Gross, Stripe co-founder and CEO Patrick Collison, podcaster Dwarkesh Patel, who we talk a lot about on the show, Google chief scientist Jeff Dean, Shoto Douglas, who we talked about last week, the Anthropic guy, and a hedge fund guy. So why do I bring up Mechanize again from episode 145? Well, because they published a new blog post this week that says the future of AI is already written. So I'm just gonna read some excerpts here, Mike. If you want to go down this path, we can talk a little bit more. Otherwise, I'll just leave it with people to like connect your own dots here. So this is a blog post from this week from Mechanize, who has already told you back in April they want to fully automate the entire economy and go after that 13 to 18 trillion a year, which, by the way, is just in the U.S. By the way, Mechanize says it's 18 trillion a year in the US, but worldwide it's 60 trillion. So that's the market they're going after. Okay, so here's the blog post from this week. The future of AI is already written. These are just a few excerpts. Innovation often appears as a series of branching choices: what to invent, how to invent, and when. In our case, we are confronted with a choice. Should we create agents that fully automate entire jobs or create AI tools that merely assist humans with their work? Upon closer examination, however, it becomes clear that this is a false choice. Autonomous agents that fully substitute for human labor will inevitably be created because they will provide immense utility that mere AI tools cannot. The only real choice is whether to hasten this technological revolution ourselves or wait for others to initiate it in our absence. The future course of civilization has already been fixed, predetermined by hard physical constraints combined with unavoidable economic incentives. Whether we like it or not, humanity will develop roughly the same technologies in roughly the same order, in roughly the same way, regardless of what choices we make now. Then they provide a bunch of historical context to like basically say it's okay that we're doing this because it's going to happen all the time anyway. People may try to steer the stream by putting barriers in the way, banning certain technologies, aggressively pursuing others. Yet these actions will only delay the inevitable, not prevent us from reaching the valley floor. We have far less control over our technological destiny than is often thought. We did not design this tech tree. It arose from forces outside of our control. The evidence for this lies in two observations. First, technologies routinely emerge soon after they become possible, often discovered simultaneously by independent researchers who never heard of each other. They give a bunch of examples there.
Hmm.
Second, isolated societies converge on the same fundamental technologies when facing similar problems and resource constraints. They go on to say, we do not control our technological trajectory. Full automation is inevitable. AI presents a powerful case for technology that can't easily be constrained. They go on to say, yet there are many who believe, or at least hope, that we can seize the benefits of AI without making human labor obsolete. They imagine that we can just build AIs that augment or collaborate with human workers, ensuring that there is always a place for human labor. These hopes are, unfortunately, mistaken. In the short run, AIs will augment human labor due to their limited capabilities. But in the long run, AIs that fully substitute for human labor will likely be far more competitive, making their creation inevitable. And then they say full automation is desirable.
Hmm.
Even if you accept the inevitability of full automation, you might still think that we should delay this outcome in order to keep human labor relevant as long as possible. This sentiment is understandable, but ultimately misguided. The upside of automating all jobs in the economy will likely far exceed the costs, making it desirable to accelerate rather than delay the inevitable. And then they end with, want to help accelerate the inevitable? We're hiring software engineers. So again, I share all of this in to provide context to everyone that whether you believe it's inevitable or not, there are a lot of very powerful investors and very powerful leaders who do see it as an inevitability that AI will, in the coming decade, most likely, be able to automate basically every job, and they want to get there first. They assume it's going to happen anyway, and so we might as well get there first, either for money and power or
Hmm.
because they believe they have the better chance of shepherding it in a positive way for humanity. So they have some belief that it's going to happen. Like, let's go get there, like an anthropic kind of mindset. Let's go get there because, like, if we build the more powerful AI, then we can kind of figure out how to help society adjust to this. OpenAI has similar mindset when you listen to Sam talk. It's kind of this, yeah, it's going to happen. Like, let's figure out how to benefit humanity and maybe all the jobs go away, but like, we'll figure it out. So again, like our part of our goal on this podcast is to bring reality of what different perspectives are. And there is
Mhm.
a growing faction of AI leaders who probably agree with Mechanize, but won't say it as directly as Mechanize says it.
Wow. That's a little terrifying, but
Right.
really important to talk about. I think that what jumped out at me too, and it's worth repeating, is the fact that this Bernie Sanders kind of manifesto appeared in Fox News. And you are absolutely right. It's a campaign speech. It also strikes me they might be trying to peel away people from, a different political side of the aisle.
Yeah,
This is an issue that could be used as a wedge in typically people that might typically never support someone like Bernie Sanders.
correct. Yeah, and again, like you're trying to find the topics that move votes. And we've talked about the complexity of the current administration right now. For them to admit that this is reality, that
Yeah.
there's a chance in the next like 1 to 3 years we have like total disruption of the job market, that's on their watch. And so the likelihood of them accepting that when they've already gone all in on AI, like this administration is 100% in on AI, build it
Mhm.
as fast and as powerful as you possibly can so that we can win against China. That is the mantra. If the byproduct of that is job disruption, which it likely will be to some degree, how can you have it both ways? So if you're the other side and you're saying, well, let's kind of take the opposite angle here. Let's talk about the job loss. I could
Right.
see this getting, I think it's a big issue, but I could see it getting completely sensationalized for political purposes
For
as
sure.
well.
Yeah,
So,
it's
Yeah, eyes wide open kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to note too, any administration, regardless of political leaning, you might think, well, why would they want all these jobs to go away? And wouldn't that hurt them? It's like, well, they're paying attention to the stock market, not
Yeah.
necessarily jobs. And the stock market may very well go parabolic if you cut labor in this way.
Unless you dramatically accelerate GDP. Like, this is
Right.
why, yeah, I mean, this is a wildly complex issue. We are not here to be the experts on every aspect of this. We are here to raise awareness for what is the conversations that are going on. So
Yeah.
regardless of what you do as a listener, maybe you are an expert in the economy and like you're thinking deeply about this, or maybe you're the CEO of a law firm and you're thinking, do I need associates anymore? Like, the whole point is to make people aware of this and to make you realize going into 2026, this is going to be likely an issue. My guess is this will poll well. They will find that people respond to job loss and the dehumanizing of society. Like, those are some pretty powerful talking points. And my guess is the polls will show this is a good direction to push.
Hmm.
And so you will get the extreme basically going into next spring.
I feel like we'll be revisiting that prediction shortly here and
Yeah.
saying you were right.
We will see. I don't want to be right. Like, there's plenty of things we say on the show where I don't want to be right. Like, I don't want the job disruption. I don't want it to be a major political issue. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of can look out ahead, and some of this stuff becomes relatively obvious where we're going to go.